Today we are going to conduct a flight on the VATSIM Boston Virtual ATC server, and I'm going to walk you through the steps for setting up on VATSIM and Boston Virtual and flying a complete flight from departure to arrival. This will be a flight officer's level flight from Boston Airport to JFK Airport in New York City. I have a fairly straight ahead setup here. I have my main computer, my joystick, but I also run a laptop on the side where I have my mapping functions and my air traffic control functions, which we'll go into more detail in just a moment. Our first step is to do some flight planning. Flying is often less about flying and more about planning. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the details. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and open up Dropbox and pull up the route finder for the New England area. And as you can see, this is simply an Excel spreadsheet that allows you to select a location and go from find the routes from one spot to another. On the left hand side are the departing airports, on the right hand side are the arriving airports, and so I'm departing Boston and arriving at JFK. This is my route. So this says that our route is the Boston departure to the Lucas intersection, the SEY 067 radial inbound to SEY, which is the Sandy Hook VOR, to Parch intersection to CCC, which is the Calverton VOR, then Roeburn on to JFK for the arrival. And we'll translate all of that shortly. Another possible way that we could do this is to go to FlightAware. So FlightAware is a commercially available website that allows you to track airports and flights. It's actually a very useful tool. I'm going to go ahead and put in a flight from Boston KBOS to KJFK and search for that, and this will show me all of the aircraft that have recently flown this route. I just go ahead and click on one of these. I'll take JetBlue over here, and it gives me a picture of JetBlue, what they did, and in this little box over here, their route, which in this case they went to the SOX, they used the SOX departure, went to the SOX intersection, Buzzard intersection, also to Sandy Point and Parch 1 arrival instead of the Rober 1 arrival. We're going to use the Rober 1, but this is another good way to get an official approved jetliner route for our area. So next up I'm going to go to my chart binder. And most flight officers will have a healthy collection of charts from all the various airports that they've operated at or want to operate at, with tabs attached here, so they can quickly go to an airport, find the departure and arrival diagrams, and get to work. These are available on airnav.com, and I'll go ahead and show you some of that shortly. But for our expeditious purposes, I've gone ahead and printed out the charts that we need for our route. Let's just take a quick walk through those. Okay, so airnav.com is your source for charts, and we'll go into a little bit more about how airnav.com works, but these charts are highly accurate. They're not exactly FAA approved, but they're not exactly not approved either. These are just as accurate, I'm finding, as actual charts. So here I have the airport diagram for Boston Airport, and as you can see, it shows the various taxiways and runways and so forth. We're going to be following these exact taxiway instructions on runways just as if this was real world. Second, we're going to need the most recent departure chart for Boston, which is apparently the Logan 9, and it shows all of the various runways and what you must immediately do upon departing that runway. I'm expecting a runway 22 right departure, which will take us this way, an immediate right-hand turn to 140, heading outbound to our first intersection, which we'll pull in just a moment. Then we're going to need to get onto our arrival chart, and this is the Rober 1 arrival for JFK, and it shows how we'll approach from the Boston area. There's the Sandy Point VOR, off to Parch, off to the Calverton VOR, hang a left down to Rober, and then inbound to JFK, where we'll get our final instructions for which runway we're using. And then finally, of course, the airport diagram for JFK themselves. We'll go into more of this as we go. These are the actual routes that are being flown by commercial airliners at this very moment, and it's exciting that we can use this same data and understand this same data, and it works in Flight Sim. Works very, very well. So let's get an aircraft. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and load Flight Simulator in the usual fashion. And so this is my girlfriend. This is the Embraer 135. This is an absolute sports car of a regional jet. I absolutely love this aircraft, and it is an advanced aircraft, meaning that it is 99% accurate to the real thing and every control works. Let's go ahead and install it and I'll show you around. Okay, and the aircraft is loaded, and note by the way that we are not yet onto the VATSIM server. At this point you could go ahead and log on at any point, but we're going to do that just a little bit later on. We're going to go ahead and get this aircraft fired up. So first a little bit of electrical power, some avionics, emergency lights on. We're going to put the nav lights on to indicate this aircraft is occupied. I'm going to bring up the logo and just a few other housekeeping items. I want my bleed air and a few other things ready to go for when the time comes. And there we have it, the Embraer 135. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug in some flight data and get ready for departure. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is follow the Logan 9 departure, and so I'm going to set up for that. I'm going to engage my flight director and set my initial heading for a heading of 140. 140. And we're going to have my initial altitude set to 5,000 because I know that's where they're going to put us. I have to trim up the aircraft before, there we go, flaps up to up 4 degrees for departure. And while I'm at it, let's go ahead and bring up ground power now that I see that ground power is available over here, which means that we are now connected to the cable from the airport, and that allows us to stop from draining our battery. This aircraft will turn itself off if you sit with the battery too long and the battery winds down. Just a few other housekeeping items here, and we're going to go and set up radios for departure. So as I was setting up radios and navigation for departure, I ran into a question, and that is that I don't exactly know where the Lucos intersection is, and it is not shown on, I know you can't see that, but trust me, we should be seeing the Lucos intersection down there somewhere, and it's not showing on this departure chart. So I need to know exactly where Lucos is. So I've gone ahead and loaded SkyVector on our nav computer, and that is my side laptop, and typed in the route using their flight planning function, and it has now drawn me a picture here of the Boston Airport departing, and you can see the magenta line coming off of the Boston Airport, and drawn me a line to the Lucos intersection, and Lucos is showing on this grid, so that's useful information. But what it also shows me is, if I follow this up here, whoops, hang on, come on. What it'll also show me as I scroll up this line here is the exact position of Lucos relative to the Boston VOR, and in this case it is on the 182 radial, 45 nautical miles off of there. So we can use that information to find the Lucos point where it is that we then have to make our turn inbound to Sandy Hook. And you'll see it gives you the information on what your next move is to turn to 247 and fly 46 miles to the Sandy Hook VOR, which is right down there. So in order to make that move, I have to enter that data in on my flight director on the course control button. So I'm going to go ahead and tune that, and you'll see down here on my display that we're going to change our course to the 182 radial, which is the radial that we want to intercept coming off of Boston. So we'll just dial that on up to 182. We're going to track Boston outbound, and that will make sure that we get onto the proper radial to get to the Lucos intersection, and then we're just going to read our distance down here to get to that 45 nautical miles to Lucos. Well, I've also loaded up my nav2 to read Boston as well, and so I've got the nav1 here with the nav bar that we're going to use to intercept our course, but I've also got my nav2 pointer going on to help me with my radial intercept, and once we get airborne I'll show you how that works. But it's very important to have nav1 and nav2 both set to the proper radio VOR frequency in order to perform a radial intercept. We'll be doing a lot of those today. Okay, at this point I think I'm ready to go ahead and load on to VATSIM so I can see what air traffic is online and what we'll be working with tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and load vPilot, and vPilot will connect my system to the VATSIM system. Looks like there's an update that I'm going to skip over for now, and we'll go ahead and let vPilot load, and then I'm going to type in my flight plan here using the flight plan tab, and that will send that flight plan to the controllers. So I have typed in my flight plan, and I've also loaded my equipment suffix here, which identifies for the controllers the highest level of navigation that I have on board. I've actually set this for a very low level of navigation, the VOR navigation system, because I'd like to demonstrate that rather than the flight management computer, which is more advanced. So we're ready to go here, and I'm going to file that flight plan by hitting the File Flight Plan button, and there we go. We are ready to see what's going on. Over on the left-hand side here, it's going to tell me the controllers that are currently available. It looks like Boston Approach is available and New York Center is available. So we'll be checking in with Boston Approach as we depart, and then picking up New York Center inbound. Let's go ahead and set up those frequencies and get ready to fly. Now I also want to show you that as we're doing this, I am writing everything down in my little flight journal here. And it's important, I think, to have all this information handy and ready to go, because we're going to refer to it often and quickly. So writing it down and keeping it in your flight journal is an important part of managing this flight. Okay, I've got my comm frequencies loaded, and I've got ATIS actually on standby. I'm going to bring that up to active, and let's get the ATIS for Boston.
2.-2. Alternatively 044. ILS approach runway 4 minus visual approach runway 4 left in use. Non-jet aircraft depart runway 4 left unless otherwise requested. Landing runway 4 right. Departing runway 4 left and liner. Simultaneous approach is to parallel and intersect.
And it sounds like they're going to want us leaving on runway 9, so I'm going to reconfigure the aircraft for a runway 9 departure, which is going to be a runway heading. And we're going to go ahead down here in the heading section and dial in 9. Well, I guess they went the long way around. That's a straight out departure then. Good to go.
Okay, landing instructions out at 8,000.
Let's go ahead and see if we can contact departure and get ourselves cleared out of here. Boston, departure, Fenway 35, ready to copy IFR.
Fenway 35, Boston, departure, standby number 2, upgrade clearance.
Copy number 2 for clearance.
Fenway 35, we're in supply space, copy.
Fenway 35, ready to copy.
Actually, Fenway 35, correction. I just noticed. Did you accept flight number 220 as a cruise? That's the maximum between Boston and Kennedy.
Yeah, no problem. 22 amended is fine.
Fenway 35, the crew of Kennedy Airport moving 9 departure radar vectors, blue coast and a file flying by the SID. Departure looking east 3440, 3440.
Fenway 35, copy. Climb Logan 9 departure via the SID to Luco, squawking 3440.
American 510 to right heading 350.
So we'll go ahead and load.
Fenway 35, we'll read that correct. Pushing start your expression by very stack. Military to still expect runway 9 for departure.
Okay, we'll push and start our discretion. We'll call for the taxi, expecting 9er for departure, Fenway 35.
We'll confirm runway 9 for departure.
Copy that, runway 9 for departure. So we'll need to load that squawk setting in here.
994, would you? We're 994, to the approach. Good evening. This is 21 knot. Then the center maintain 4,000. And 5,000 heading back to
Let's get her started up. Alright, let's go ahead and dim the cabin lights and get her fired up. Gust lock is off. And starting up the APU. Let's bring up our beacons.
Okay, 973, crossing low Charlie now.
Passengers in the seat belts, fuel pumps. And push back.
Oscar approach K973 to copy. Runway, four right, clear to land. Traffic to Army Airport Center roll now. Traffic to land, runway 04 right, 299.94.
Engine's coming up. Engine's looking good. The other minor details. Calculate speeds. And number 2 spinning up.
This person heavy, we're clear the actual one. American 510 heavy. Welcome to Boston, taxi Romeo November, Echo crossing your 4 left, full short 15 left. Okay, Romeo November, full short 15 left. Weird crossing. 4 left.
Okay, let's take her up. I don't know what this truck is doing. I'm going to drive over him. Okay, I'm in the alleyway, and don't have to call yet, but since we're about to step onto a taxiway, we have to call ATC to see if we are cleared to do so. So, Family 35 at the alleyway, ready to taxi. Restore compressed air to the system. APU off. Boston approach, Family 35 at the alleyway, ready to taxi.
Family 35, runway 9er taxi via Bravo, Kilo Mike, cross runway 4 left, altimeter 3044.
Family 35 to runway 9er, Bravo, Kilo Mike, cross runway 4 left, and altimeter 3044.
Direction, Flight SimCon, cross 15 left, full short 15 right.
So we want Bravo.
Okay, cross 15 left, full short 15 right.
And we're coming up on Alpha first here, so we're going to scoot
Runway
on into Bravo.
973, runway 9er taxi via Echo Mike, cross runway 4 left. Outbound to Bravo,
Position 2.
35 will be getting away you if
And taxi lights on, please. Go ahead and make this turn.
Taxi Echo Mike for 9er, K973, roger, thanks.
Boston approach, Family 35. Looks like we got Kilo. Can we take Kilo straight over?
Runway 35, no problem.
Copy. Goof that up.
So it's going to be Bravo, Kilo Mike.
Bravo, Kilo, Mike, copy. Quick look at the runway diagram. We're short, wouldn't be a bad idea now, would it? Bravo, Kilo, Mike. You know what? This is just labeled wrong because I don't have the update.
Okay, cross 15 right to an Alpha, next to you. United 994, welcome Boston, continue on Romeo to November, cross 4 left, full short, 15 left. Taxi Romeo, and I didn't get the rest of it for 994, please. Romeo, November, Alpha, cross runway 4 left, hold short runway 15 left. Roger that, we'll hold short runway 15 left, United 994.
Oops, failed that. Lights on when you're crossing the runway. Boston departure, Fenway 35 at the hold. Just need 30 seconds here for a final departure check.
Fenway 35, give me a call already.
Will do. So 24, course is 182 for my intercept. My heading is 93 for departure. Flaps are 18. And check with Betty.
Break.
That's what I wanted to hear. And we're good to go. Boston departure, Fenway 35, ready to go.
Fenway 35, now with wire runway heading, runway 36, takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway heading, Fenway 35. Got my clearance, entering the runway, lights on. If my strobe is off. Yes, it was. Airplane's all twinkly and ready to fly. Confirm this is in fact runway 9. Looking out the window. Let's go flying. Cabin lights off. Thank you. Engines are stable. Knots.
970, 9 miles of way traffic, takeoff roll. Miles away, gain 973.
V1. Rotate. Hold it there. V2. She goes flying. Gear coming up. Calm to climb angle.
Positive rate.
Thank you. Speed is good.
Boston approach United 94, holding runway 15 left.
Flaps coming up.
Then
Center
cross
power.
runway 15 left and 15 right, how today.
And engage the auto.
We'll cross 15 left and 15 right. How good
Hands
night.
on the controls. Confirm Betty is
Runway
on.
35, stay out, please do.
Runway 35 crossing 900.
Runway 35 is a radar contact, climb and maintain 14,000.
Climb maintain 14,000, Fenway 35. Dialed it in, looking good. Betty has the ship. Speed good.
Runway 35
Lights up.
to the right, hitting 130.
Right turn 130, Fenway 35. There we go. Climb power. On course, 3,000 feet. Flaps up, gear up, speed holding, Betty has the ship, flying 130. Once we get handed off to center, I'll give you a look around at the cockpit and the cabin. Let's take a quick look. There she is. Oops. Fully functional. But I think it looks better. That's pretty cool.
You're 35, correction. Fenway 35, you will turn right at a 1901, able to steer out of the road.
190, right turn and direct Blue Coast when able, Fenway 35. So, here's my radio intercept. Coming up.
4 miles to the east of Marshfield. Inbound to, I'm sorry, we're inbound to Norwood Landing.
13 miles out of Boston. I'm looking for that scissors report.
Fenway 35, contact Boston Center on 134.7. Have a nice evening.
Fenway 35 going Boston Center 34.7, goody. Boston Center with you, Fenway 35, crossing 11,000.
Fenway 35, Boston Center, good evening. I maintain flight level 220 and confirm your direct glucose.
Climb to 220 and correct. We're on a radial intercept for glucose.
Okay.
Alright, quick look around.
Boston Center, Green 973, with you, passing through 10,000, for 11,000, up for 14,000. And, there's your 973, Boston, very good evening, sir. Climb and maintain flight level 3, you do, sir. Good flight level 320, King 973. And, 973, confirm your direct patch.
Now, VATSpy is another tool that we use on the side laptop, and this is a map view of what is going on in session right now. And you can see here, Cape Cod, Boston, and you might be able to see my aircraft, Fenway 35, headed down the coastline, headed to JFK. We can see that it's controlled airspace. There are several controllers online. A few aircraft coming in. Got it. That's fine. So ATC gave us a slight reroute, wanted us direct Calverton, and we were not quite in range, but we just picked it up, and we've been flying a heading given to us by ATC, and I'm just going to set my nav up here real quick, and that's the course I want, direct Calverton, engage nav. It takes over. Just make sure that it's actually happening there. We're in the turn. And we're going to ride that for a little while. Steaming down. The Rover 1 arrival. There we go.
November 5420.
It's a good time to enjoy the view. That's hot. I personally prefer that view. I like to see exactly what's going on. Okay, we've been told to cross Rover intersection at 09,000, and I am 19 DMEF in Calverton right now. This aircraft descends at 10,000 feet per 30 miles, and I've got to get down to 9, so I need about 35-40 miles to do it. I've got 18 from Calverton, and I've got 18 after that, so time to get downstairs. We're in the descent now.
With you, squad 4. I didn't get the second. The second second 4-0, 4-0-2-4.
Calverton's 11 DME out, and I have to do a radial intercept there to pick up that turn.
4724, we got the number we'd like to,
that turn
we
right
might
there.
only want a QL intersection,
Here we
if
go.
that's possible.
Heading down in the dark 2 miles out.
American Airport, Tango, things are going to happen
Lost
pretty
Calverton,
quickly.
cross islands, heading engage, aircraft.
Reaching flight level 210, descend via the Roebuck 1 arrival, landing runway
17,000
48.
feet, gotta make 9 in 18 miles. And pick up the
Roger,
JFK
descend
Boulevard.
with the Roebuck 1 arrival, landing runway 4 right, American 84 Tango.
And I hit the inbound 276 to JFK. Inbound 276 to JFK. Flip JFK up, please. Thank you. That's my intercept.
American Airport, Tango, standby. Runway 35, contact Boston or New York Center 125.33.
Boss, Family 35, contact New York Center 125. Didn't catch the last two, please.
Yeah, 125.32, and before you go, it looks like you want you to stay at 12,000, 12,000. Maintain 12,000.
Okay, we'll hold up at 12,000. Contact New York 125.32, Family 35.
You got it. Have a good night.
Good day. New York approach with Fenway 35 with you 12,000. Here comes my intercept. Well, I'm in nav mode.
Composite 27, turn left direct neon.
Turn left direct to Neon for those 6.0.
Goes. New York's not picking me up. So, New York approach, Fenway 35 with you 12.
Runway 35, New York Center, hello. County altimeter 3042, expected EOR 13 left.
Aaron 35, altimeter 3042, expecting VOR to runway 13 left.
Firejet 2, turn right heading 200, descend and maintain 4,000.
VOR 13 left. That is the Parkway Visual. That's what
Runway 200, down to 4,000, Firefly 02.
And of course, we've been given the Parkway Visual, which is across Carnegie. Head up at the 041, take a wicked right turn, and visual, bam, right down on the airport. Okay?
Delta 627, climb maintain 5.
That's what we're gonna do. Hang on, kids.
Climb up to 240.
And we've been sent down to turn right 300 down to 3,000, setting up for the approach. Flaps coming down.
Delta
Coming down.
423, New York Center.
Okay, we've cleared for the approach. Here we go.
420, American Space to the west, Washington's closed. Air service terminated, frequency change
This
approved.
will be a sterile cockpit. Set nav.
Delta 423, expect the ILS runway 8. Turn left heading 260, vectors to final. Descend and maintain 3,000.
Turn left heading 260, descend and maintain 3,000. And so what was the ILS? Was it 8?
Affirmative.
Alrighty, thank you, Delta 223.
Final flight 2, runway 13 left, clear land. Desert wind, calm.
Betty's nabbing us up for Carnegie.
Clear land 13 left, clear flight 02.
12 DME from Carnegie. Carnegie, yeah.
New York Center will be fought, so they're requesting airlines for this window.
Who's calling for clearance?
Must be 557.
Velocity 557, heavy New York Center low. Clearing to Fort Lauderdale. Kennedy 3 departure. Accept flight heading 170, radar vectors wavy. Spiles, climb by Sid, squawk 6660.
Traffic ahead.
Delta 212 over my 9 right club land, wind 1208. We will have that right, Delta 212. So a 35, number 2 flying at dash 8, 9 miles ahead. Start reducing the final, runway 13 left club land, and the wind calm.
Runway 35, following the dash in set speed for approach. Cleared runway 13 left.
Velocity 557 air, 30 company.
Center was Flight cleared to Florida via the NT 3 departure, squawk 6660. Can you please confirm the runway?
It's going to be the Kennedy 3 departure, so the JSK, Juliet Foxtrot Kilo 3 departure. Read back correct, runway 13 right for departure, call for taxi.
Runway 13 right for departure, and there's the Kennedy 3 departure, also for.
Crossing Carnice, down 1500. Outbound from Carnice, speed 19er. Field is ahead. Ship is coming down. Vertical speed a little faster, please. Power coming back. Cookies are done. Approaching our assigned altitude. Watching throttle.
Delta 423, turn left heading 170.
It's over there.
Left 170, Delta 423.
Over the cone of silence for Carnice. Head on down to under 1,000. Additional flaps and gear, please.
Certified 2, welcome to Kennedy, right 1 able traffic, 2.5, base to final.
Actually, right 1 able for Flight 02, out in traffic.
Autopilot. Autopilot.
Delta 423, can you confirm that our airport would be Kilo Lima November Charlie?
Kilo Lima November Sierra, sir.
Roger, no one at the on the runway. Kilo Lima November Sierra.
500.
212, welcome to Philadelphia, sir. Let's see here. Taxi USD, left Sierra, Yankee Juliet departing. Take care. New York Center, Delta 403. Delta 212, taxi left Sierra, Yankee, and Juliet. Departing, take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at our destination. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until we stop at the gate when the captain turns off the seatbelt. We hope your flight was a pleasant one. Thank you for flying with us. We hope to see you again soon.
Runway 35, welcome to Kennedy. Right when I have the taxi, I can get on.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. We'll be straight ahead here at the Bravo, Family 35.
Sweet, Delta 403 has near center. Hello. So you continue on Alpha, West November, right, Papa, runway 13 right.
New York Center will also be 457 ready for pushback and start.
Check, start on. Check.
100 above.
Check, todo lista.
Minimum.
Check. Check. Check.
Retard. 10.
Spoilers. Out. Reverse. Cell. Maybe. Alpha, right on Yankee Alpha, Bravo sería 6253 heavy. Pues aquí, en Yankee Alpha, y luego nos vamos a la derecha, tienes libre.